All right. Good evening, everybody. Excited you're all able to join us. We got some people joining on. Hey, we're going to get deep on some stuff tonight. I'm excited about our training. I'm excited. I put a lot of work into what I'm going to share with you tonight over the last 2 days. And I want to tell you kind of a backstory about it. But two things I wanted to challenge the group on. Number one, I want to challenge you all to put your cameras on. I was on a webinar about a week ago, a big leadership thing, and one of the speakers, big leader in our company, said, having your cameras on in a training, it's the equivalent of sitting in the front row of a training in the office, right? It's a higher level of engagement. It's better for the speaker. It's better for overall participation. And I just think it elevates, what we're doing here. So that's a challenge to you all. And number two, this is going to be intense note-taking. I'm going to give you guys some very specific things that I think is going to be very applicable to all of you. It's been huge for me in my career. And so I really challenge you. We're going to record this. We are recording this if you want to go back and review this. But I really challenge you guys, what flows through you sticks to you, and take some detailed notes because I want to get into some important stuff. So I want to tell you the backstory of our training tonight. So I've had a little time to reflect on things, just by way of keeping track of things. I just finished my 20th year in business, which is kind of hard to believe, but time creeps by for all of us. And I had the opportunity to take 3 weeks completely off. I haven't done that in 20 years. I mean, completely unplugged from business. We left the country for a week with our family, which was incredible. And then came home and just basically just did nothing for 2 weeks, just total family time and self-reflection time. It allowed me to recharge my batteries, which was needed, and really just think about some things. And man, because I'm thinking about 2021. Man, I don't know about you all, but I want dynamic growth for our team. I want a big shift. Our business has gotten bigger every single year for 11 consecutive years now. Our production is bigger every single year. My cash flow is bigger every single year. Our team size is bigger. However, it's been incremental growth. And I don't know about you all, but I think we can explode this year. I think the conditions are right for an explosion. I'm talking, let's get down to you individually. I'm talking for most of you on this call right now, that's going from 0, 1, or 2 teammates to 10. I mean, just think about that. For some of you, just think about that personally. What if you had 10 teammates at the end of this year, and then you grew it from there next year? I'm talking about, for most of you, that's doubling or tripling your cash flow at a minimum, especially early on in your business. I think you can go from 10,000 to 40, 50,000. I think you can go from 30,000 to 100,000 in a business like ours. It's just absolutely doable. And I want to talk to you about doing that tonight. And the inspiration for the training tonight is come from what I've done the last 2 weeks as I've gotten re-engaged in my business, is I've gone around the horn to all the guys I'm coaching directly. And we've had some deep conversations about, hey, what's it going to really take to build it big this year? What's holding you back? I've asked that question to different guys in different ways. And I've been really intrigued by some of the answers that I've gotten. And it's led me to what I think we need to dig deep in tonight, which we're going to get to. But I want to show a slide here just to set the stage for what I want to talk about. I want to make some important points on the slide. You guys, this is a slide of my first 2 years of income in this business compared to my last 2 years in this business. The first 2 years, you guys, starting from scratch, I made just under $25,000 in 2 years. How inspiring is that? There's a lot we could talk about there that would be good for other trainings. But in the last 2 years, I've made just over $1 million cash money, direct deposit in my family's bank account. And I would not have believed that if you asked me back in my first 2 years, did I ever really expect to be where I'm at today? There were many moments in those first 2 years where that was not the case. So my message tonight is not really one of inspiration. I love to do that. I want to get really tactical with you guys tonight, but I want to draw some important distinctions. And as a quick sidebar, before I get into that, you guys, I just want to remind you all, or maybe some of you haven't heard this forever in our business, but this is a peak era in our company. Our company is exploding like never before. It's a peak era. If you ever wanted to peak and build a business here, you guys, now's the time to do it. You know, I came across an article I was just reading last week. I thought it was interesting. You guys, Jack Nicklaus, who it's him or Tiger, is the greatest golfer of all time, right? 18 majors, 80 tournament wins all around the world over 4 decades. Do you know Jack Nicklaus made $5.7 million in his entire career prize money? You guys, Dustin Johnson made $9 million last year in a shortened season because of COVID. So economically speaking, was the era to be a peak golfer in the 80s, in the 70s, or the 2020s? You guys, our business is the same thing. We're producing 7 and multiple 7-figure ring earners like I've never seen. It's hard for me to believe 20 years in, and that just lifts the lid for all of us to grow, you guys. And so, you know, account values are at their all-time highs. That means bigger rollovers for all of us. People need life insurance more than ever. Almost nobody has life insurance with living benefits. Because people want a business like ours more than ever before for 2 completely separate reasons, right? On one side of things, I think a lot of people have gotten a taste of what a little bit of a flexible work schedule looks like. They can work at home a couple days, they can go in. Things have been a little bit more lenient from a time schedule standpoint. It's not a rigid 8 to 5. And people have started to adapt family life and other things and merge things. It's just as I'm talking to my clients, they've merged other things in, hobbies and stuff like that during the week. And hey, this is pretty good. A lot of my clients are telling me, hey, I was all about retiring in a couple of years, but I could probably keep this going a few more years. So people are more looking for flexible options because we all know we're going to drift back to normal life eventually. But on the other side of the spectrum, I think a lot of people have had tremendous economic uncertainty, and they're looking for a job or a new business that they can control, an income that they can control, unlike ever before. So you guys, this is a peak era to build it big, and this is a prime time to be really launching your business. But we've got to develop some skills that are going to help you get into better markets and get a different result. So the reason I wanted to show you this cash flow difference, the primary reason, is I wanted to make a really important point here. You guys, what you see on the left represents a baseline of the skills, of the confidence, of the knowledge, of the person I was when I joined this business. Nobody objectively could look at those results. I mean, look closely, you guys. I mean, it took me a couple months to get it going, made a few $1,000s, but then somehow I made $72 in a month. And then I made $800. And then I closed a couple cases, got on a little bit of run, thought I had things figured out. Look at September of 2002, $0. And then the next month, $0. And then I made $358. What do you think my confidence was at the time? Do you think I was out in the field closing cases every single night? Do you think I was getting in front of high quality prospects? Do you think I was attracting high quality teammates to my business? You guys, I was on the struggle bus. Those were some tough times to grit through. And I just want to make a point that something changed between what you saw that got the results there. Because how can the same dude, you know, the same exceedingly average guy get dramatically different results in really not that much of a time frame? Because this is one little chunk of my life. There's a 16-year gap between these two dramatically different results. I hope that gives you confidence, but I hope that also intrigues you about what's the difference maker, right? And so that's what I want to get into. You guys, I'll tell you 2 things it's not. It's not how you start in this business. Our company has got so many examples of people much bigger than me that started incredibly slow and are major time 7 and multiple 7-figure income earners. We have a ton of examples of people that couldn't recruit, couldn't build a team for years, and then all of a sudden caught momentum, built confidence, and got it rolling and have huge hierarchies today. So it's not how you start. And so everybody has a fresh chance in 2021 to relaunch your business, no matter how long you've been here and what it's looked like. Number 2, it's not how long you stay here either. Because just like there's a lot of examples of people that started slow and have built it big, there's a lot of examples of people that hang around our company for decades and don't ever change, don't ever make any more money. And you guys know as well as I do, the company doesn't hand out legacy awards and bonuses for, hanging out here for 10 and 15 and 20 and 25 years. There's no participation awards in WFG. So the difference to me is one word. It's the shift I've made in my identity. And I want to talk to you about why I want to talk about this tonight based on what some of the answers I've gotten. But I just want to be clear, because some of you have had a lot of training on identity, and some of you, maybe this is new because you're newer to our team. But just to be crystal clear, what I think identity is my self-worth. It's what I view about myself. It's what I believe my life is worth, my skills, my talents are worth. It's the sum of the things I'm willing to accept in my life or not accept in my life. And the identity that I have has an implication on every single thing I do in my life. It's my slight edge. It's the difference maker in every situation, every conversation, every meeting, every encounter, how I parent my kids, everything I do in my life. My identity is me. So what you believe about yourself and what you believe about your worth, how you'll allow other people to treat you, how you'll allow other people to treat your time, right, will have everything to do with the results you get here and some of the people you attract. And so I want you to think about this. Let me give you a little more granular, just so you can draw distinctions in our business, you guys. There's so many times I talk about our system, and I talk about getting results in the field. I spend a lot of time with people in the field or talking about getting different results in the field. And a lot of teammates struggle with getting, now kind of non-COVID, we would meet more people in the office. We're doing more on Zoom, but they struggle getting people to come to the office for a meeting. They struggle getting both spouses to a meeting. They struggle getting people to set the next meeting before the, or set the next follow-up meeting, at the existing meeting. And so you're not in follow-up mode forever. People struggle getting commitments from people. People struggle getting cases over the finish line. All of these little things, you guys, imagine if you had this slight edge where you had an advantage in every one of those conversations. Guys, that's a big deal, because what feels uncomfortable to you right now will eventually become your process. It'll eventually become very comfortable. As an example, think of a power play in hockey. Imagine if you had one extra teammate skating on the rink all the time. What would your results look different in this business because of it? See, I was thinking about this earlier today, and I want to make an important point, you guys. When you have a slight edge, you have an advantage over the competition. But I want you to be clear on who the competition is. The competition is not me versus my prospect. It's not my agenda versus what I'm trying to convince somebody else to do. See, I'm trying to help my prospect. If I'm coaching a teammate, I'm trying to help them make a shift in their business. But I want you to write this down. The competition is the limiting beliefs inside of my prospect's mind. See, those limiting beliefs are why they haven't saved money up until they've met me. Those limiting beliefs are why they've not done certain things in the life, or that's why they maybe are in a career they're very dissatisfied in, but yet they still stay there, right? And I've got to uncover those limiting beliefs and help persuade them to make changes to get results that are in their best interest. And if I can do that through recruiting them to a business that's going to give them a chance at buying their life back and having freedom, then I'm going to do that. If I'm going to, try to convince them to save more money, try to convince them to spend less money. There's a lot of times when we don't give really sophisticated financial advice. It's just a little bit of a, serious talk about, hey, are you serious about your goals or not? Let's have a conversation about this, right? We were in a conversation, Alec and Shane and I yesterday or 2 days ago with a client that he has $500,000 of life insurance, and he thought he was actually considering reducing it because he felt it was too much. And I looked at him and I said, dude, you need like $2 million of life insurance. And let me tell you why, right? And we're going to do that. We're going to get it done. but it's because I'm so clear on what people need, you guys. So how do you build this edge? Well, I want to give you guys some things here. So here's why I thought we needed to cover this. So as I'm talking to teammates, these are some of the answers that teammates have given me. Some of you on this Zoom meeting right now, but I think everybody could probably raise their hand on a number of these things. When I've asked people what's holding you back, here's what I've heard. I feel like I'm imposing on people when I call them. I'm feeling unworthy of contacting qualified prospects. I'm struggling to find quality people that want to build a business with us. I feel like I don't deserve to win. I need to expect more. I need to get in front of higher quality prospects. Guys, I had a few more, but they were all centered around some of those, and nobody needs to raise their hand. I'm telling you right now, I've thought every single one of these things in my career at various points, okay? But maybe you'll agree with me that if you could overcome some of these concerns, some of these challenges, it would unlock a lot of things in your business. Because one thing you guys don't need me to do is prove to you that this business works. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't an abundance of proof of that. You guys know there's a huge market for what we do. We're not trying to sell, ice cream to Eskimos here. Millions of people are looking for a new opportunity. Tens of millions of people need help with their finances. We've just got to go communicate with them and build their trust. So I think those statements fall into two categories. I think they fall into the categories of low personal identity, low personal self-worth, and I think they fall into a category of low business identity. We don't value our business and what we bring to the table enough to have the confidence to go after higher quality people. I think a lot of us, if we encounter a prospect that's making 70 or 80 grand a year, even if they hate their job, I think we'd be afraid to talk to them about joining our business because they already make quote unquote good money, right? When I would argue that those are probably the people you need to recruit the most. And so raising your identity is going to help you big time. And I want to go through some specific things on how to do that. So let's start with this. Low identity, the center of it, has to do with what you think you deserve. And I think most people in life, if you really get through some layers, they don't believe they deserve better than what they have. I've seen that consistently in 20 years talking with people, uncovering meetings with teammates, conversations with relationships with clients. They just don't think they want more. They wish for more. I've yet to meet somebody that doesn't want to make more money, wouldn't wish for more in savings, wouldn't wish for less debt, wouldn't wish for a better job, but deep down, they're not sure they deserve those things. What makes me different? Why do I deserve those things? Now, I just want to tell you, you'll never get what you don't believe you deserve, okay? But the key to deserving, changing what you think you deserve is what you do, right? If you start to do more things consistently that most people are not willing to do, you're going to start expecting things that most people have no right to expect. And what's happened, one of the things I've made my transformation from barely paying my bills and struggling to even survive to having complete financial abundance is because my expectations are astronomically higher now than they were back then. My expectation when I first started was just to survive. And if I could survive long enough, maybe I'll figure it out and this will turn into something. That was basically my business plan. And now my expectations are incredibly high and I just won't settle for less. And it implicates everything I do. It influences everything I do. You guys, one of the reasons I work out in the morning is because I want to reprove myself every single day that I'm willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. Not that I'm the only one that does that, but if you look at the cross section of America, most of America isn't doing that. The number one reason I save money for my family is I want to prove to myself guys, I save money 3 times a month. I drop pretty significant chunks into the market in various accounts I have. The 5th, the 15th, and the 25th of every month, it's on autopilot. And I do that because I want to reprove to myself that I'm practicing what I preach to people. It's money I'll probably never touch, but it's rebuilding my identity every single day. So I want to give you guys some specific things to build your identity that you can do in this business. This isn't like mental, sometimes I think people get into mental toughness stuff and they think it's all kind of gobbledygook and kind of esoteric. But these are, actually, I'm going to give you 4. I'm going to give you 4 highly specific things that you can do to build a slight edge. And if you have that edge, I think it can be the key to dramatically different results. But here's the one warning I have before I give you the 4 things. These 4 things are 100% in your control, and they're easy to do, but they're just as easy not to do. And that's the difference. That's why so few people out there have what I call this slight edge. They have this elevated identity that allows them to get consistently better results. And so let's go through these 4 things, and I want to get in depth with you. Number 1, and you've all heard this before, but I want to maybe say it a little bit differently. Audit your associations. Who do you spend time with? It was said last week in our training, you're like the 5 people you spend the most time with. There's 10 versions of that. And that's generally true, but here's my question for the group. Are you actually intentional about this in your life? I want you to think about, who do you spend the most time with? Really think about it, because here's what I think. I think most people have heard this. It gets reposted on social media like 3 times a week in some form or fashion. But we're creatures of habit, and we tend to go the same places and do the same things and have the same conversations and talk about the same things, and nothing really ever changes, right? You guys, I'll just give you 2 examples. 2 of my closest friends I spend a tremendous amount of time with. One of them, frankly, is a better entrepreneur than me. He's way more resourceful, way more creative. He's a 7-figure earner. He's crushing me in business. We're in totally different industries, but he's just better at some things that I want to get better in. And sometimes we're hanging out in my kitchen. Sometimes we're hanging out on his boat. Sometimes we're in the park with our kids. But just being around a guy that stretches me, that reminds me of there's something bigger out there, better out there. He's a little better in this area, that area. It's really influenced me big time in terms of my expectations and what I think I can go do in our business. Another one of my friends, probably one of my best friends, is just incredibly intentional about living life on purpose. And sometimes I see things he's doing, whether it's something with his kids or something he's doing in his business, and I'm like, man, he's just at a different level than I'm at. And he's been incredibly successful, but you guys, just being around people like this stretches me. If I hung around people all the time that just wanted to talk about the Browns, man, that's fun every once in a while, but that's just not gonna, it's just not gonna do anything for me, right? And I'm not telling you that's terrible. I watch sports here and there. I'm into some stuff, but I've just learned to link the things I enjoy the most with the things that also help me grow, right? And so I want you to think about it. You've heard, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. How about, are you hanging around people that are generally wealthier than you? Or are you pretty much the highest income earner or highest saver in your group? Are you hanging around people that are fitter and healthier than you? Or are you the only guy that's trying to lose weight this year and get after it? You guys, this is a critical thing. And I would challenge you, one thing that we have in our business, and you're going to get this down next week in Atlanta, is virtually, I can say just about everybody on our team, some of you I don't know quite so well yet, are a lot of like-minded individuals. Everybody on this call wants to grow, wants to do more. I would encourage you guys to be more intentional about spending time with each other. Sideline teammates doing different things, right? Being intentional about going and grabbing lunch with somebody. Hey, let's meet up for coffee. Find out why each other's in business. You guys, the more time I think you spend around people that are trying to grow and do the right things, that's going to ultimately influence you. The second thing I want to talk about, you guys, actually, I almost missed a key point. Here's the recommendation. A lot of you have said, I want to get in better markets. I want to get in front of higher quality prospects. I want to attract higher quality people to my business. Let me tell you what I've done that helped me. Part of why I didn't get a lot of results my first 2 years is I was in a terrible market. I didn't have a big natural market. I didn't have a lot of connections. I was new to this area essentially. And so one thing I did is I started figuring out how to get in front of people that I knew of, but I didn't necessarily know well. And What I didn't do was call them up and cold call them and try to solicit them about my business. But on a third party basis, I would look to people that I saw that were successful in business, or maybe I met them through my church, or I met them through a community thing. And I would just say, hey, can I take you to lunch sometime? I love to pick your brain on how you've built your career. I love to learn more. I've seen you've done this or that. I personalize that a bit. Hey, I've seen you, you know, man, you just seem to be a great example of somebody that's been done really well in business, yet you've done, you know, you've got this incredible family. I love to find out how you did it. And you guys, you can get in front of virtually anybody with that kind of approach. People love to sit down and do two things. They love to talk about their own success. And I don't even think that's an ego thing, but I also think that people want to help. Most people out there want to give back, especially people that have done well. And so my challenge for all of you guys, if you want to start getting into other circles, is start making a list. And I do this tonight. I'd make a list of 5 to 10, maybe 15 people you know or even know of. It could be somebody that you go to church with that you've never actually met, you just know goes to the same church. It could be somebody that is on the board of a charity that maybe you volunteered at here and there, and you just know that you have a connection there, and you can start going to work to figure out, how am I going to meet up with this guy? When can I bump into him next? When can I get his email? Maybe I can shoot an email. And you guys might think this is crazy. I'm telling you, I've done a ton of this. And a couple things happen. Number one, you're going to get in front of these people. And when you get in front of these people, you're going to start becoming more comfortable having conversations with higher quality people, right? Because that's one of the things that I think that challenges a lot of people, especially early on in this business, is they're just not comfortable talking to somebody that's making a few $100,000 a year, or maybe 15 or 20 years older, or maybe owns a company, runs a company, you know, has something significant going on in their life, because you just haven't done that. And so how do you think you're going to instantly be comfortable in front of the first prospect that happens to show up on your doorstep that is in that league? I'll never forget the first time I sat down with a client that made more than, like, I don't know, 100,000 a year. I sat down with a client, still a great client of mine to this day. I was on the phone with her yesterday. I sat down in her kitchen 18 years ago, and she said her income was $450,000 a year. I about fell out of my chair. I was instantly swimming in the deep end of the pool, completely uncomfortable. I barely kept it together. And somehow I got a nice chunk of business done that's still on the books today, by the way. And anyways, it's such a lesson that the more you swim in the deep end, the more comfortable it becomes. And so go be intentional about getting in front of people that are successful in various endeavors in life, and you're going to grow more comfortable having those conversations. Number two, they are going to reciprocate at least half the questions you ask of them. So if you're asking them, how did you start? And how did you, what was the difference for you? And how did you end up doing this or doing that? They're going to start asking you about your business. And that's an opportunity for you to express it in a pretty low pressure way, because you're not really trying to solicit them or anything. And you're going to find two things. Number one, you're going to find that every once in a while, you're going to bump into the right person at the right time. I guarantee you, Andy would tell you that most people that you think are all set, that you think, oh, they already have an advisor, I'm sure they got somebody they love. And at least half the people that initially say, oh, I'm with so-and-so, I'm all set with a financial advisor, after you dig a little bit deeper, they're not all set. They're not all the way happy with that guy, or they're maybe open to a second opinion. Because I built a business out of getting second opinions of people and converting them to become clients of mine. So you're going to start having people that are going to respect you. They're going to be rooting for you. And they may not do business with you right now, but they're going to remember you. And then they're going to be curious on your progress. And you follow up with them 6 or 9 months and say, hey, I just wanted to update you. Man, your conversation helped me a lot. I went in and did this, and that because of what you told me. And I just wanted to thank you again for that time. You guys understand, if you started doing that intentionally with 10, 12, 15 people a year, what do you think that's going to do for your business and your life 5 years from now? You guys, I'm one of the things I pinch myself at is how many unbelievably extraordinary people I get to call as friends that I've gotten to build relationships with one way or the other through this business. People that I would have never had in my life had I not become very comfortable swimming upstream. I'm always reaching up. I'm always looking for people further ahead than me that I can build relationships with, I can network with, I can learn from, I can get into their circles. Yeah, so that's a huge point. If anybody wants to talk about that with me a little more directly, I'm offline. I'm always willing to do that. But you guys, that's a huge thing I've done to build my business. That I can't point to one spike in 1 month at some point or some run, but generally that's been something I've consistently done for a long period of time. So that's number one, your associations. Number two, anybody that's been coached by me has had this advice given by me. And I will tell you before I give you what it is, that most people don't follow through on this. I will tell you, Andy's right in my point of view. I guarantee you he has, but most people have not. And it's so dang easy to do. So here's the question. What are you doing to become an expert in financial planning? Now, I want you to think about this. We are in the business of financial planning, right? And yes, we're marketing, we're disrupting an industry, and we're building a team, and we're doing those things. But you guys, where the rubber meets the road is helping people save and invest money. You can go recruit 5,000 people, but if you don't get good at sitting down at the kitchen table and helping people, make financial decisions and save and invest money, nobody makes any money. That's where the rubber meets the road. That is the business we're in. And so how can you expect to win on a big level if you're not an expert? Now, you don't have to be an expert day one. That's why we field train, right? That's why we progressively get people to a point where they can be on their own and then take over their own business. But I want you to understand, if that's not something you're intentional about, it's not going to just happen. Don't think you can just pay attention in field training appointments with your trainer and just kind of pick it all up. You guys, one thing I've done early on, but I've consistently done for years, my entire career, is I'm continually reading personal finance books. I'm continually reading books on life insurance, savings. I read books by guys I don't even necessarily agree with, because I used to get so railroaded by people that went to Dave Ramsey classes. I just couldn't overcome it. But I read all Dave Ramsey's books. I'm like, I want to know what my competition's reading. And again, my competition isn't my prospect. It's some of the limiting beliefs that are inside of their brains. So I want to know what they're being taught so that I can overcome it, right? I want to know what Susie Orman has to say about annuities. I want to know what Google says about index life insurance, right? You guys, I've watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. You guys, but Steven, I see your question. You actually beat me to the point. I'm specifically not going to tell you guys, hey, here's the top 5 books I've read on this. Hey, go to this website. Hey, here's the YouTube channel I'd recommend for that. And here's why. Because training that you're spoon-fed will not have the same level of retention in your mind as training that you seek out personally will. That's just a law of life. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish I could hand you a manual that just read this manual and you got it, right? It just doesn't work that way. You have to continually be building a knowledge base. So you can fool other people some of the time, but you'll never fool yourself. And your confidence, when you build a knowledge base, again, when you're doing something that most aren't willing to do, most people in our business aren't willing to do this. And as I say this, of the 30 people we have on this call, some of you are going to do this. Most of you will do this for a short little stint of time, but then you're going to stop. You're going to go pick up one book and read half of it. You're going to spend one night on some blogs. But most of you won't consistently do this, yet it's such a separator. Guys, if you want to know why I'm frankly world class at persuading people in the field, getting results. That's what's behind $1 million in 2 years of income. There's a lot of, that's not just doing business with people that are looking for me. There's a whole lot of people in there that come in and say, yeah, I think annuities are too expensive. I've been told not to do annuities. I've been told life insurance is an investment. We don't need more life insurance. We're saving enough money. I don't want to pay higher fees. I'm worried about the market's going to crash. All this stuff, right? You guys, I've made a living helping people unpack why they think what they think, overcoming those objections, and then implementing my recommendations. because I have a knowledge base that gives me incredibly high confidence. It's confidence that I know what I'm talking about. It's confidence that I'm doing the right thing for my client, right? And I think that comes across in a very genuine fashion. So you guys, this is a huge thing that's 100% in your control. All of you have the time to do it. It doesn't have to cost you virtually anything. And it's easy to do, but it's really easy not to do. And so that's a challenge for you guys, is go become an expert. You know, we did an IUL illustration back to the same client that Shane and Alec and I were meeting with last week. The guy that said he didn't need life insurance. He also said he doesn't believe in permanent life insurance. And we're going to do a nice IUL on him next week. And you guys, there's a high level of skill set in being able to really tear apart an illustration and not get lost in the weeds and help somebody understand that product, and then compare and contrast it to other products to get your point across. Guys, that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice, and that practice can be done on your own. It can be done with sideline teammates. It can be done role playing. So you guys build your knowledge base big time. Number 3, I want to make sure we're good on time here. This closely springs off of the last point I just made. What are you doing to build your skills in the field? You guys, if you write one note tonight, I want it to be this. I heard this, and this is one of the best things I've heard in a long, long time. I heard it from Nick Saban, not directly, obviously, but I read this about Nick Saban. He says, at Alabama, we don't do things until we get them right. We do things until we can't get them wrong. Think about that. We don't do things until we get them right. We do them until we can't get them wrong. They practice and over-rehearse again and again and again the fundamentals. It looks flashy on the field, but it's a subtle difference in execution when the pressure's on. And so I want you to think about, are you role-playing with teammates? Do you guys know how much time I've spent in my car? Andy talks about talking in the shower all the time, you know, talking through appointments, you know, going through talks if I'm about to give a talk, if I'm about to do a training. Guys, I role-played this training. I put some time into this because I wanted to make sure I communicated the message that I wanted to communicate and didn't just ramble on a bunch of points. And I'm probably still doing that a bit, but at least you know I put the effort in, okay? And I want you to talk about, you guys, skills are the difference. You can't just win here on ambition. You can't just win here with a cute video. You can't just win here with excitement, with motivation, with energy. All those things are good. All those things help in the margin, but skills are the separator, you guys. And if you're not consistently building those skills, working on those skills, developing those skills, you sit through a training appointment and then you go immediately put that into practice. You know, guys, that's the stuff that's going to build this. Embedded in $25,000 in 2 years was a whole lot of bad appointments. I mean, a whole lot of things that just didn't go right, of like being caught with answering, not being able to answer a question I should have been able to answer, not being prepared for a client meeting, being really uncomfortable and being awkward in the meeting. I mean, all that stuff, you guys, was in my first 2 years. So as I started to build my identity, that fueled the last 2 points I talked about, because I started realizing, hey, if I'm expecting bigger things, I got to get a lot better. And so nobody told me, Phil never told me, Tyson, you need to become an expert in this business. I did that. And that's no insight. That's not an insult to Phil. It's just that I realized, man, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I got to get a lot better. They didn't teach me this at school. I don't learn about this, you know. I can't just read a brochure and regurgitate it to a prospect. I need to understand these products inside and out. And why would I do a VUL instead of this? Why would I do an annuity instead of that? Why would I do a managed account instead of that? Why is this fund worth a higher fee versus that fund? Who's this product for versus not? I had to know that stuff, you guys, and that translates into the results. So you guys, I can't stress that enough. Build your identity, become an expert in what we're doing, consistently build skills in the field. And the last thing I want to talk about is a quick pivot. Those are the 3 things to build your personal identity. But then if you go back to the six points I read about teammates had told me, I want to read them again. And I want you to listen to a commonality. I feel like I'm imposing on people when I call them. I'm feeling unworthy of contacting qualified prospects. I'm struggling at finding quality people to join my business. I feel like I don't deserve to win. I need to expect more. I would tell you that's personal. I need to get in front of higher quality prospects. You know what I hear in all of those is that we have a deficit of business identity on this team. What do I mean by that? We need to elevate what we believe our business is worth if we're going to attract higher quality people to it. See, I think if you think this is some startup ragtag financial operation, maybe second tier, whatever, I don't think you're going to have the confidence to call certain people. It's not going to come across when you're meeting with people. I'll tell you right now, you guys, and you guys know this, there's no place in the industry I couldn't go tomorrow. I mean, I've got a bunch of money under management and a perfect compliance record and 20 years of experience and a Rolodex full of contacts. I'm who the industry wants to hire. Why don't I mean, it's just, I mean, I can't think of something further in my mind than leaving our company. And it's not because I'm used to being here. It's because there's no place I'd rather be. It's not a perfect company, but I'm playing a big role in improving it over time. That's one of my life's missions, is I want to improve this platform even more so that it's something my kids can do and all that. But the point is, you guys, I love what we stand for. There's things I can do here I can't do anywhere else, because there's a lot of other places I could sell financial products, but there's no place else that I can give somebody else a life I have. Because that's what Phil did for me. You guys, Phil lives an extraordinary life. He's making even more money than me. He's even freer than I am. He's got even more put away than I do. And most of you are going to really get to meet him and get to know him quite a bit next week in Atlanta. But you guys, had Phil just set me up with a savings vehicle, man, I wouldn't have 2% of what he has today. But he gave me an opportunity that's literally made me and my family multimillionaires, right? I mean, that is freaking powerful. And that reason alone, and there's about 10 others, you guys, I love that we stand for helping middle and upper middle America. I love being on a crusade. I love disrupting an industry that's in woeful need of repair and innovation, right? I love everything about what we're doing. And that comes across when I'm talking to people. See, I have an identity about our business that's high, so that when I'm looking at people that make 150, 200 grand a year, but I know their life sucks, right? And I don't even think that's a lot of money. I used to think that's a lot of money. And I don't want to offend anybody on this call, but I couldn't imagine trying to raise my family on 150 grand a year. I couldn't imagine. We'd have to cut out all kinds of stuff that's important to me. So the reality, you guys, is as you raise your personal identity, I want you to be conscious about raising your business identity. And what's going to happen for all of you that are able to go on the trip next week is you're going to get a massive injection of business identity. And you're going to be blown away. I mean, you're going to have a chance to meet Tom Dempsey, president of WFG. For those of you that stick around for Saturday, you're going to definitely meet Tom Matthews and Andy Horner and get to have as much time with those guys as you want. You're going to be blown away, as there's going to be CEOs running all over that office. And so you're going to come back infused with this like belief of like, oh my gosh, man, everybody needs to do this. But that belief isn't going to stay there forever. You know, it's interesting, this pandemic that we've been through, it's taught me something about immunity that I just didn't really know. Maybe I subconsciously did, but nobody explained it to me this way. I was talking to one of my best friends, he's a doctor, and he said, you know, the way our immune system works is our immune system is incredibly strong, but it's also incredibly fragile. And it needs to constantly be re-upped with exposures to viruses to maintain its strength. And so I don't want to go on a whole tangent on like mask wearing and all that stuff, but it's kind of counterintuitive if you think about how our immune system works. But the reality is, I thought back and I'm like, you know, it's interesting. My wife was a school teacher for the first 7 years of our marriage, and she never got sick, ever. I mean, she had kids walking in with all kinds of stuff every single day. And I'd get sick, living in the same house with her, sleeping in the same bed, but she would never get sick. It's because she was constantly getting exposed to viruses, and her immune system was so much stronger than mine. And I want you to believe that your mind works the same way. See, the viruses of your mind are self-doubts, are all the things. They could be people, they could be circumstances, they could be just your own self-doubts that just creep. You guys, weeds in a garden don't need any fertilizer or water to grow. They just grow on their own. You want the good stuff to grow, that takes a lot of work. And if you think about your mind, if you want a high identity about things, you need to constantly be pumping your mind with things that are going to boost that identity. And in our business, the best way I can think you can do, my recommendation is you guys all have access to the best leaders in our company at your fingertips. Not all of you have access to call these guys on their phone, but you can go and you can get on WealthWave's website and you can watch the very most successful people in our company tell you exactly how they did it, tell you about what their vision is, why they're so excited, why they're going, how they're communicating this to other people. You can go on WFG's website and there's a treasure trove of past convention talks and other training videos. And you could be mentored by a distance by people that will stretch your vision. And just to give you an exact example of how powerful that is that a lot of the biggest leaders in our company have mentored me big time from a distance long before I ever knew them. One of them, he's become a very close friend of mine, is Eric Jensen. And he and I talk all the time right now on various stuff we're building together. But there was a time I never even knew him. He didn't know who I was probably 6 or 7 years ago. I remember going up to Hawaii and introducing myself kind of awkwardly once he was hanging out with his family. But you guys, I remember listening to stuff he did 10 and 15 years ago. And I started seeing what he was doing. And he had a big family, he had 6 kids. And he takes them skiing all the time. And they were in Hawaii every year. And I remember that just blew my mind that somebody could, I'm like, how do you take a family of 6 kids to a ski resort for a couple of days? I couldn't even imagine how expensive that was. My family could have never done something like that growing up. And it racked my brain. I'm like, how's that possible? And I started realizing, gosh, maybe if he's done it here, I can do it in the same business. And so it started elevating my expectations from a distance long before I ever knew him. Because I'm being mentored, all of you guys can be mentored by some of the best coaches on podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And I know we do a lot of that in the culture meeting, but I challenge you to do it within our company, right? Because there's a million sources of great content out there. But one thing that I think is important is you need to be listening to people that are specific to our business, talk to you about why our business is so powerful. And you need to continue re-upping your immunity to a low business identity. And I think the more you do that, because most of what I do, most of my presentation is just copied from other people, and I don't even think I realized subconsciously how much I plagiarized other people until I started getting to know these guys and went back and looked at some old notes and like, oh, that's where I got that. Very little of what I've done has ever come out of my own brain. Most of this training is just a compilation of other things I learned. So you guys, I hope what I've covered tonight is powerful. Like anything else, I'll wrap up with this. I've said this a few times, but it bears repeating one more time. These things are easy to do, but they're just as easy not to do. And when we get to the end of this year, back to this idea of this is a peak time to be building a business here. Guys, I'm playing for keeps in 2021. There are conditions that even if they persist beyond this year, it serves me to believe that they won't. And so I'm going to go grow this year in a big way in some areas. And I'm doing some things a little bit differently in terms of how I'm training, what I'm doing with my people, because I want to get some different results. But I challenge you guys to take heed to what I'm saying here tonight, because this is the difference maker. This is how I've gone from 25,000 in 2 years to $1 million in 2 years. This is the same recipe of how I'm going to go to $1 million in 18 months. And then $1 million in 12 months, and then $1 million in 10 months, and so on and so forth. And that's just a measurement of progress. That's all that is. That's just it. That's just a measurement of growth of something that's right. So that's my challenge for you guys. I hope this helps. And that's all I've got for you.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Tyson. That was an awesome training. And hopefully you all were taking lots of notes for that. We are going to move on now to announcements and recognition. So Tyson, I'll give you a little break and I will go to Andy. You want to do announcement and recognition?
Can we not move on? Thanks, Stace. I know we usually move on. Let's not move on so quick though, real quick. I would tell you that's probably the best training I've ever heard, guys. Like, you know, I don't know. I'll be transparent. Like Tyson and I sometimes struggle to communicate with each other, I think. And part of it's because sometimes I don't like being challenged, right? And I think we're all there. We all battle with that. But man, like every single word of that training was true, you know. Guys, this is it. Like I put in the chat there that training should go on the front page of our ClickUp. When you bring someone on board, just sit them in front of that and say, listen, you like what we do? You need to listen to this guy and what he's going to say. Because for you to be absolutely successful here, these are the things you got to do, right? So, Tyson, I really appreciate the intentionality of planning that training. That was awesome. And for everybody else on the call, listen, you've got a guy telling you what you got to do. There's no reason Tyson Moore should be this successful in this business. Would you agree, Tyson? Right?
That's a true story.
Right? There's no reason. And there's no reason I should be successful here, nor probably any of you, which is why I love it so much, because we have the blueprint and the formula, and he laid it out for you. So it's not, as he said, what'd you say, Tyson? They're not things that are hard to do. They're actually easy to do. But the fact of the matter is, I already know this, not everybody does it. Very small percentage of people do it. And so that's why it's worth so much. So I appreciate what you just put together there. Man, thank you so much. So,
hey, that means a lot, Andy. I really appreciate that, man.
Thank you. Man, all right, we can move on, I guess. But man, I just kind of want to soak that in a little bit. That was so good. It is recorded, Tyson, right?
It is recorded. Hopefully I didn't screw that up. Yeah.
No, good, man. That's great. All right. So recognition I will do. I do want to recognize a guy that I feel like is starting to live what Tyson was talking about there, and that's Gavin Daly. You know, the one trait that Gavin has here that's going to win for him is stick-to-itiveness. He lives, join, don't quit. And he put 2 bricks in the wall this week. What I mean by that is, you know, we're writing a couple pieces of business that might not be huge, but they're pieces of business. And every dollar he picks up, every policy he writes, every teammate he brings on board is just another brick in the wall towards his dreams here. And I'm seeing some stuff with him, right? I'm starting to see some things. And so, Gavin, I wanted to give you props for writing those 2 cases. And getting the ball rolling there, because I know you have belief, and we're going to continue to build toward your dreams here. So good job, Gavin, on that business that you're getting done. Also wanted to recognize George Calton, and this is a small Crusaders moment. So we had a client come in today with an annual renewable term policy, amongst other things. And she pretty much had stuff in order. We've done some things with her, but we didn't know that she had this annual renewable term policy, whether she forgot it or I don't know. But anyway, $100,000 death benefit, annual renewable term. And then she had a $14,000 whole life policy that her grandma had got for her when she was like 0 years old, and she's 55. Okay. So it's got like $4,000 or $5,000 of cash value in it. She's paying $115 a month now for $100,000 of annual renewable term insurance coverage. Okay, because it's a 20-year policy that, you know, turned into that ART, annual renewable term. So here's the Crusaders moment. George and I went through this meeting with the client and kind of shored up everything else that we had with her. But then at the very end, we said, listen, did you know you can get a $100,000 permanent life insurance policy with a guaranteed death benefit? And if we just 1035 exchange that money over or transfer it over from one policy to the other, did you know that your premium will be exactly the same as it is with your annual renewable term? And not only that, it'll be guaranteed for life, And not only that, it has a return of premium privilege to it. So the client was blown away. Oh my gosh, I can get a permanent policy with a level premium that'll last for the rest of my life. This client doesn't have a lot of money. She makes $35,000 a year, but she values this coverage. And we were able to basically create $100,000 more wealth for this client and her family and the money she's already putting out there through just understanding products. So back to what Tyson had shared with you about becoming an expert. What are you doing about the business, right? Become an expert in the business. Just the fact that George and I understood what she had and what was out there allowed us to on the spot run some illustrations for her and write that business. You're not going to become an expert in that right away, but trust the people that are training you that they can do it. So George, props to you. Now it's up to you to submit the policy, get it underwritten, and get it issued. But great work on that. Exciting to be able to help clients big and small. It's only 1,500 points, but it makes a big difference in this client's life. So those are the two pieces of recognition for the Hudak Base Shop this week.
Thank you, Andy.
All right. Do you want me to jump in, Stace?
Sorry, yeah, I had to run upstairs. I thought my kid broke a bone the way they were screaming. Okay, yeah, so go ahead.
I don't see Daniel on. I don't know if Daniel's still doing the BPM, but yeah, I've got a couple recognition items here. I definitely want to recognize, hey, Jake Tony. This guy's full-time in our business now, taking major initiative. And, you know, we've got a company retirement plan that we've set up, a simple IRA. And there's probably, I don't know, 18 or 20 employees now. And he's just kind of taking the ball and getting a lot of things moving forward there. And just learning stuff like crazy, just getting great field experience, ramping up activity. And I want to recognize Shane Logan for just getting a really high quality prospect. I kind of referenced that in my training a bit just because it's recent. But you know, a guy that clearly respects and really values Shane. And just a perfect example, if you can do it once, you can do it lots of times. And so we're gonna really help this family out a lot, get a lot of great business done. And then I want to recognize Alec for just flat stepping up. I mean, this guy, I kind of talked about some of his recent results last week. But you know, Alex, if you've been around Alec lately, he's just a bit of a different person now than he was 90 days ago. His confidence, you can just feel it, right? And just to harken back to what I just said, I would make the point that his identity is elevated a few degrees in the last 90 days. And that's not by accident. That's a lot of hard work. That's putting into stuff. I mean, he's following all the stuff I just talked about. And I'm just excited to see where this guy's going to go in 2021. So that's my recognition.
All right, awesome stuff, guys. Daniel, Beck said that Daniel and Alec are in a meeting. So we'll go ahead and open it up to anyone else that has any announcements or recognition that they want to do. All right, guys. Well, that is it.
I do have two announcements, actually pretty important stuff. Number one, I don't know if this has gone out publicly, but on February the 4th, TFA is doing an all-day virtual training event. You know, it's basically a substitute for the Vegas thing they did the last couple of years. And so you'll probably get more details on that, but it's being built out right now. I would, you know, mark your calendars for all of you Series 6 registered. And because it's virtual, I'm sure we can get it going in the office. And if you don't have your U4 submitted, we can have you attend that training. I think there's going to be some breakout sessions. They're going to do the best they can to replicate that experience. And I don't think it's going to be a cost. So anyways, that's on February 4th. And then let me share, I wanted to do a couple things on Atlanta.
Tyson,
Yes.
real quick, I know you're going to maybe talk about the trip, but WFG's homepage, it's on there right now. It's the first thing. It says TFA launch 2021, register now. So
okay, they must have just posted that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Let me share my screen real quick here. Okay, let's talk about Atlanta, guys. Man, I'm pumped for this trip. So our agenda has really come together in the last couple of days. Hopefully you guys can all see this. I'm going to be getting this out to the SMDs here tonight so they can distribute to everybody. So I just want to run through the agenda. I'm getting a lot of questions, so hopefully we can kind of hit them all in one group here on a lot of the questions we're getting. So here's the itinerary. We need to be at the WealthWave office at 2:45. The dress code for the entire event is business casual to business professional. And so it's definitely not like jeans, but it's also not necessarily a suit and tie. So you guys can use your best judgment. I would say what you wear to a convention would be appropriate. But 2:45 arrive at the WealthWave. So from 3 to 5, we're going to get a tour of the office, and then we're going to have a meeting with Andy Horner and Tom Matthews, all about what they're doing. And that's going to be kind of a kickoff to the whole event. And then we're going to go offsite for a dinner hosted by Phil Kingray. We got COVID restrictions, and so to be determined. To get a group of 30 people is a bit of a challenge in the world we live in right now, but we're going to figure that out. And then this kind of popped up here this week, but we're going to get back in time there's going to be a live broadcast of Chris Felton interviewing Tom, Steve Siebold, and Andy Horner all about the How Money Works book. And we're going to be in the audience watching that. And then I think that even just as cool as that is we're going to be probably just about the only team there. There's going to be a few other people starting to come in, but we're going to have some time right after that for some kind of off the cuff time with Tom, Andy, Steve, Felton. And that's just an incredible opportunity. Back to associations and identity and everything I just talked about, you guys. This is like on a platter to rub shoulders with these guys. We may go and grab some appetizers and drink somewhere. We might hang around the office. We'll play that by ear. So come to the office that day dressed and ready to go, because you're not going to go back to the hotel till later that night. Friday morning, eat breakfast at your hotel. It'll be free. And then we're going to do a leadership meeting from 9 to 11:30. We have a boardroom reserved there. We got some cool stuff planned. I got some special guest speakers that are going to pop in and talk to you guys, and all kinds of stuff we're going to do. We're going to have some WealthWave training right there on their technology and tools. So I would encourage everybody to bring a laptop with you so you can get right on and do some stuff live. Bring an iPad or whatever you typically use. Phil he's really doing a lot for us this trip, and so we're going to make a big deal out of that. But he's going to cater in a lunch for us right at WealthWave's office. And then from 2 to 4, we're going to watch the broadcast of Green Carpet Day. And that's going to be pretty cool. And then the rest of that evening is pretty open. There's going to be a ton of people around. And so I think we'll have maybe an informal team dinner. There's not going to be no hosted dinner. Everybody's kind of on their own cost-wise for that. But we may end up at, some casual place where we can just kind of hang out and get to know some other people from different teams. And then Saturday is the WealthWave launch event from noon to 5. I'm really excited about that. And it's not official yet, but they're working on potentially doing a training Saturday morning that won't be broadcast, just for the people. They've got, I think, 200 and some people. It's going to be a zoo down there on Saturday, but it's going to be a lot of energy and just going to be an inspirational event for you guys. So 3 quick notes at the bottom of this. I already kind of covered dress code. Masks are required. I don't know that that's going to be a real strict thing, certainly Thursday or Friday. But by Saturday, I can confidently tell you they're going to require that. And I think that, our SMDs are all coordinating transportation to and from the airport, but the way it's all shaping out, some people are doing Ubers, but like Leah and I are renting a minivan, so we have some extra seats, and I think a few people are doing that. So we should be able to shuttle people to and from restaurants and the hotel while we're down there. We'll play that a bit by ear, but I'm not too concerned there. But just communicate with your SMD, make sure you're good to go on airport transfers and all of that. And I think that's all I've got on the Atlanta trip, unless anybody else had anything to add or questions on it.
Thanks for putting it together, Tyson. That's tremendous. Excited to be down there with everybody.
All righty.
All right. Yep. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun. Again, if you have questions regarding logistics or you want to ride share or that kind of thing, obviously you can post that anywhere or kind of put that out there or go within your base shop to do that. I think that's it. I'll open it up one last time to anyone else. Any comments, questions for the group? All right. Well, everyone have a great night. And there is no BPM next week or ZPM next week because we'll be in Atlanta. So we will pick back up the following week. Post your guests on Facebook. Have a good night. Enjoy the beatdown.